Hello again, and welcome to a brand new episode of Secrets in Dragon Ball Games. Seeing as most DB game developers gravitate towards bullying Yamcha, it's refreshing to see them do it to someone else. We're talking about DBZ Kakarot, which recently celebrated an insane milestone of 10 million copies sold. Very nice. Kakarot is sort of a semi-open world game, so there are quite a few iconic places from the series that you can freely visit. And the one that's going to be of interest to us is the Capsule Corporation building. You may occasionally spot a little kid standing in front of the property, directly looking at the Capsule Core building. Now, what could he possibly be looking at? If you try to talk to him, he'll ask you where, and I quote, the big forehead guy went. A guy with a big forehead, huh? The only ones here are Oolong, Trunks. I guess his forehead is on the bigger side in certain shots. And Veggie. Oh, I see where this is heading. Well, Vegeta's right there. I'm not sure how he's unable to see him. In any case, let's bring Vegeta over to him. But before I do, I need to let you know that all of the lines here aren't voiced. However, the dev team did add a single line for the kid, which makes this whole thing even funnier. I don't know whether it's shock or genuine fear, but the kid's reaction upon seeing Vegeta's forehead up close for the first time is a scream.
Yeah, I'd probably react the same way, kid.
Even though the interaction starts as a small joke at Vegeta's expense, it eventually turns out kind of wholesome, with the kid actually admiring the size of Vegeta's forehead. He even gives Vegeta a little present. That's cute. The kid will continue standing there even after talking with the prince. It would seem that Vegeta's forehead left such an impression on him that he keeps coming back to witness it again and again in all its shiny glory. Throughout the long and rich history of Dragon Ball games, one thing was almost certain. If Yamcha was a playable character, the likelihood of a jab being thrown at his expense was extremely high. And no game series did it better than Budokai. Dimps, the developers of the Budokai games and also this little unknown game series, which I doubt many of you have heard of, but it's called Xenoverse. Also Dragon Ball Legends. I'm not sure where they stand with Yamcha these days, but their early 2000s run was something else. Every year or so, I would document another case of Yamcha getting bullied in the games. So far, we've had him getting insta-killed by Cyberman, crushed by the gravity chamber, unable to complete the Snake Way trip, and even being the only character to give Super Buu a power debuff after being absorbed. No! I suppose it's about time we add a new one. This time, Budokai 2. It was the first Budokai game to introduce a minigame during an ultimate attack. If you win the minigame, you proceed with your attack and deal full damage. And if you lose it, the opponent either takes significantly less damage or fully dodges the attack.
Hey, stand still!
When it comes to Yamcha though, Dimps couldn't just let him off with a simple damage reduction. Oh no, that would have been too easy. His failed ultimate not only deals 0 damage to the enemy, but it also costs Yamcha half an HP bar. And why does his Spirit Ball ultimate do that? I'll let the footage speak for itself. While Yamcha is recovering, allow me to quickly show you this interesting new game. Crystal of Atlan is a brand new cross-platform Magic Punk MMORPG featuring over 25 classes, no character gacha, all unlocked from the very start by the way, and with each class offering 20 plus unique skill combinations, smooth ground and aerial combat, Crystal of Atlan lets you jump into action immediately. And you should probably consider doing so because the game is celebrating its first anniversary alongside a massive collaboration with Nier Automata. 9S and 2B are joining the world of Atlan as equipable character skins, alongside Nier-inspired weapon skins for every weapon type in the game. Pod 042 also joins as a pet that follows you around and provides stat boosts. The HO229 Type S and Type B units arrive as morphable mechs that can annihilate your opponents, or simply help you traverse the world much faster. Team up with friends to take on the giant Colossus Groon every Friday and Sunday. The first anniversary also marks the release of Crystal Atlan's 25th class, the Karma Slayer, a type of swordsman that fights alongside the Sword Demon. Crystal of Atlan is available on mobile, PS5, and PC, and if you join the game now, you'll get a bunch of collab rewards and tons of additional anniversary gifts for free. Download Crystal of Atlan today by clicking the link in the description or the pinned comment. Happy 1-year anniversary and thank you for sponsoring this video. Not to discredit Yamcha too much here, he isn't the only one to get hit with his own attack. Mr. Satan, Super Boo, and Gotenks can all do it as well. Though it is pretty funny that Yamcha had to be included too. Of course, Dimps couldn't pass up that opportunity. The Kamehameha is a move almost exclusively associated with the Z fighters, and also Cell. May as well bundle him in there. With all the DNA shenanigans he has going on, my brain might be playing tricks on me, but I don't seem to recall anyone outside the confines of planet Earth performing it. Sure, there's Boo, though he only learned it by mimicking Goku. And then there's Goku Black, but he's just using Goku's body. So imagine my surprise while browsing Xenoverse 2's partner customization tab, only to find it as an equipable super for Bardock of all people. It's the standard Kamehameha animation, but at least it's voiced, so that's pretty neat. In canon, Bardock never learned it, obviously, though we did get this official drawing by Toyotaro back in July 2020. Here's a little fun tidbit of trivia. Did you know that an almost identical version of this specific father-son Kamehameha debuted in Legends around December 2018 in the form of a summoning animation? That's close to 2 years before Toyotaro would reveal his Goku in Bardock illustration. What are the odds that Toyotaro was inspired while playing Legends? Probably slim, considering free time isn't exactly a luxury mangakas often enjoy, but it's fun to think about. Shortly after Piccolo merged with Kami, Dende became the new Guardian of Earth. At that point, Dende was still a kid, and by the time we reached the Buu Saga, 7 years had passed, meaning Dende looks more grown up. This remains consistent in the game as well. Even up to the very end of the game, Dende's height and appearance stay consistent. In one of the final cutscenes, we can see that Dende still looks grown up. Only a few moments later, Goku launches the Super Spirit Bomb that vaporizes Kid Buu, and everyone meets up at Kami's lookout. Everyone is celebrating, everyone, including 10-year-old Dende? And there it is. Just a few moments prior, Dende was basically a teenager, and now he looks like a child. An extremely unfortunate screw-up by the devs? Not really. On the contrary, I'm fully convinced it was intentional. While not always 100% accurate, Kakarot's main goal was to deliver a faithful adaptation of Dragon Ball's story by referencing both the anime and the manga. In both versions, there's a scene where everyone is celebrating at the lookout, and Dende is mysteriously shown as a child again. The anime likely did this because Mr. Toriyama drew him that way for reasons that were never really explained. The real question is why Toriyama decided to draw him as a kid again. We don't really know, but Toriyama was known for his occasional forgetfulness and inconsistencies like this. I'm sure the Kakarot team was aware of it, but they likely chose not to correct Dende's size in order to stay faithful to both the source material and the anime. Lil post-edit update. While originally writing and making this, I didn't even think to check the lookout to see if he remained a kid after everything. Alright, the moment of truth. And no, not a kid anymore. Have you ever tried firing off a Kamehameha directly at Tien in the Xenoverse games? Well, if you haven't, you'd probably be surprised to find out that it does no damage to him. This was 100% intentional by Dimps, and it may actually make a lot of sense, depending on how you interpret certain wording from Roshi. During the 22nd World Tournament, Tien was facing off against Yamcha. Yamcha performed a fully charged Kamehameha and fired it directly at him. Tien seemingly performed the hand sign and released enough energy from his body to deflect the attack right back at Yamcha. Just a few episodes later, Goku found himself in a similar predicament. As soon as Goku began charging his Kamehameha, Roshi remarked that the Kamehameha doesn't work against Tien, no matter how powerful it is, almost implying that Tien has some sort of immunity to it. It appears as though Dimps took this comment way too seriously, because if you try to perform any attack in the game that has Kamehameha in its name, it simply won't affect Tien. Even attacks that start off with a kick or a punch but transition into a Kamehameha later in the combo won't do any damage. damage. I literally tested every single attack that had Kamehameha in its name, and not a single one worked. I never really dabbled much into the PvP side of Xenoverse, but I'd imagine Tien would be quite troublesome for someone whose moveset is filled with Kamehamehas in its various variants. But the big question is, was Roshi's statement actually true? It all depends on interpretation, as well as the accuracy of the translation. One thing is certain though, if the statement had been true, I think the Cell games would have ended very differently. Has anyone else ever noticed that Super Saiyan Goku Mid has the strongest ultimate out of all the other Super Saiyan Gokus? The Angry Kamehameha deals 24,375 damage. The number may vary depending on your sparring partner. In my case, it was base Z Broly. Neither Goku End nor DBS Goku were able to match his damage output. They both cap at around 23,400. And by the way, that number is basically the cap for most other Super Saiyan characters' ultimates, except Super Saiyan Teen Gohan. Bizarrely, he deals 4 extra damage for some reason. There's also the curious case of GT Goku, who's the only other character that's able to match Goku Mid in damage output. If you're looking at all the forms strictly timeline-wise, perhaps GT Goku's high damage output can be justified purely based on the fact that it takes place after Z. But that still won't explain why Z and Goku and Super Goku are weaker than Midku by comparison, not to mention every other Super Saiyan character who caps at 23,400. No idea what to do with this information, so I figured I'd share it with you. Speaking of not knowing what to do with a piece of information, recently a viewer of the channel noticed such an insignificant small detail. But if I hadn't included a segment like this about strange stuff from DB games, I don't know where else I would put it. Our person of interest here is Krillin again, and the comment reads:
I have nowhere else to share this, but for some reason Krillin's Cell Saga outfit doesn't have any fingernails, while his other outfits do. And it's been bothering me.
First off, that's completely valid. I have no idea who else you'd be able to share this with. And secondly, how the hell did you spot that? I booted up the game just to see if this was still in the game. And lo and behold, Krillin's second outfit does indeed have missing fingernails. I don't even think the developers are aware of this. And now that I've seen it, I don't think I'll ever be able to unsee it. There you have it, Mr. Abeen5650. You won't be the only one bothered by this anymore. Tenkaichi 3 story mode is filled with endless what-if scenarios. Almost every single fight in the game can end in the way you want it to end. If you're skilled enough, Tien doesn't have to die against Nappa, Goku doesn't have to die alongside his brother, etc. An entire 40 to 60 minute video could be made just on the alternate endings. But we're not here to talk about what-if scenarios today. Fancy story cutscenes were never BT3's strong suit. The storytelling was done throughout the fights themselves. As you were fighting, the direct participants, as well as everyone else on the sidelines, would say their canonical lines as the fight was progressing. Occasionally, they would also chime in with a few lines that directly relate to how you, the player, are performing in the fight. If you're doing well, the character on the sidelines will cheer you on to keep going.
That's it! That's the way!
On the opposite end, if you're performing badly,
"You fool! Don't take your eyes off your opponent!"
sometimes even the direct participants would make comments in reaction to the player's actions. Let's say you manage to quickly sneak up and maneuver behind Nappa. He's programmed to say a specific line if you meet that condition.
When did you get behind me?
There are numerous others like this, but again, that's not why we're here. I want to talk about a few lines from Krillin, because 2 of his reactionary lines have been something of a mystery to me ever since I was a kid. Krillin has basically participated in every major fight, either directly or indirectly. As a result, you can find him in the majority of story mode battles, making comments from the sidelines. He usually says supportive lines. It is Krillin after all, but these 2 specific lines are quite bizarre given the context.
Wow! To be able to match me in skill!
Buddy, matching you in speed is no great feat at this point in the series.
I did it! I did it!
Did what exactly? He says those two lines whenever you're performing well in a fight. I did it is especially bizarre considering he's not even the one fighting. The fact that he says this while you, or in this case, Gohan, are beating down Cell makes it sound like he's taking credit for it or something. It could be a case of the lines triggering at points where they shouldn't. Basically, a simple glitch. Nothing else really comes to mind, but I'm open to hearing everyone else's thoughts. Gogeta Blue is one of the few playable characters in fighters. The cool thing about him is that he doesn't have a dedicated button for ki blasts. Instead, he fires a point-blank Kamehameha if you press the button everyone else uses for ki blasts. The weird thing is that if you press down plus the key button, Gogeta jumps into the air, strikes a Galick Gun pose, shouts Galick Gun, but the attack that comes out is white and blue. Alright, so I just rewatched the movie and there weren't any blue Galick Guns thrown out. Vegeta's Galick Gun was yellow in the movie, so there's that. My best guess is that it was a creative choice by Arxis. Their way of saying that if Gogeta Blue had performed it, it would probably be blue. Remember that one time the Sparking Zero dev team added a new map by accident? No? So far, the only map we officially received was the Demon Realm. However, just 2 months prior, there was a Legendary Warrior face-off update where the previous boss, Whis, was replaced by Frieza. The battle took place on the island stage, which served as a reference to the Resurrection F movie, or the second arc of Dragon Ball Super, depending on how you look at it. The stage looked completely normal at first, nothing was out of place. I was fortunate enough to be recording that day because there was a pretty cheeky detail with Frieza, which I covered in this video if you want to check it out. Anyway, when I came back to the legendary face-off mode to grab some extra footage, I noticed that the time of day had changed, and the stage was full of this orange haze. My interest was definitely piqued because this particular version of the island stage doesn't exist in the actual game. Try it for yourself. Try to go to the island stage to see if you can find it. Initially, I thought it was a random addition to spice up the new Legendary Warrior update. A welcome one at that, given how rampant the criticism of the lack of stage variety was during that period, and still kind of is to this day, it made sense. But when I came back to shoot another batch of footage a day later, that version of the stage was gone, replaced instead by the regular daytime island stage. After that, it was never seen again. The reason I didn't bring it up in that original video is because I was under the impression that this happened to everyone. But did it though? I recently reviewed a bunch of footage from that period, ranging from bigger craters to smaller ones, and not a single one of them had footage of fighting Frieza on this specific version of islands. My question to all of you is, has anyone else experienced this? Was I extremely lucky to have this happen? Or was it perhaps a sign of potential time of day updates for certain maps coming down the line? That's gonna be it, folks. Thank you all for watching, and do let me know what you'd like to see next.